Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the City of Joliet Council meeting for this evening, October the 1st. We will have Pastor Scott Frosby from the First Assembly of God Church to lead us in the invocation and then lead us into the prayer. So please stand.
God, we come before you as Daniel did in chapter 9, verse 3, and we just turn our face to you, God. We thank you to be able to be here serving this evening. God, we pray just as we turn our face towards you, God, that you would turn and smile upon us. God, may you smile upon the city. God, may you grant us favor. God, we pray for unified leadership. God, for those serving the city. God, for those serving the community around them. God, for all of those, God, that are continuing, God, to push forward, God, in leading this city. God, we pray for favor that cannot be explained as anything other than God's grace. And God, we pray that you would just give us revelation and guidance. God, may we have wisdom beyond understanding. God, I pray that integrity and honor would result in blessing and favor. God, we pray all of these things in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
No picture? You have Councilman on this picture?
Thank you very much.
We'll begin with roll call. Mayor Odekirk.
Here.
Councilman Dickinson.
Here.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Here.
Councilman Hug.
Here.
Councilman Morris.
Here.
Councilman Mudrin.
Here.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Here.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Here.
Councilman Turk.
Here.
First on the agenda this evening is a presentation, Riverwalk Homes redevelopment update, Peter Holston and Andrea Keeney.
Good evening, Mayor Odekirk and council members. I'm Peter Holston with Holston Development and Management Company. With me is Andrea Keeney, Senior Project Manager for the redevelopment of Riverwalk. We're here to give you a brief update on what's going on over there. It'll be split into 3 short sessions. First, we'll talk about the property management. Then we'll talk about resident services, and then we'll wrap up with proposed development activities. So I'd like to ask our property manager and assistant property manager to come up and give their presentation.
Good evening, Mayor Odekirk and council members. I'm Andrea Green, property manager for Holston Management at Riverwalk Homes.
And I'm Lamika Miles, the assistant property manager. So we wanted to start off with letting you know that we have the retrofit LED lights that were installed in the common area, exterior areas, and also inside of the apartments. We have boiler replacements in several of the buildings, as well as an in-house janitorial staff of 5 members. So now we have Monday through Sunday service. And we have an upgrade to the grounds maintenance and newly renovated laundry facilities in each of the apartment buildings, as well as additional camera installations and telephone entry system, and the enhanced tenant response and resolution to deferred maintenance, which allows us to close work orders faster, as well as the response time with the residents on customer service.
For our occupancy and management updates, we have HUD-approved gross rent changes and an increase for 2019-2020 fiscal year, above average occupancy for both of our property and collection rates. We've made the payment methods easier for our residents to pay their rent with. We closed our HUD wait list to assist current applicants with housing opportunities. Also, we've had a decrease in traffic and police calls for criminal activity. Our resident retention and self-sufficiency opportunities have expanded, and we have continued engagement and dialogue for resident needs.
Are there any questions at this time?
I have none.
Thank you.
Next, we'll have representatives from our resident services organization to talk about how things are going with the residents themselves.
Good evening, Mayor Odekirk and council members. My name is Elizabeth Prodich. I'm the program manager for Holston Human Capital Development at Riverwalk Homes. And with me is Jackie Taylor Holston, who is the executive director of Holston Human Capital Development, and also the senior vice president. Correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, it's a long title. Okay, to update you on what Holston Human Capital Development, and I apologize ahead of time for my voice if you can't hear me or understand me. I've had a little bit of a cold. I just want to say that the community has really wrapped their arms around Riverwalk Homes. We have had really an outpouring from all the social service agencies and health agencies in the area. This is a list of partners that we work with on a regular basis. The community, like I said, has really embraced and came in. We hold a monthly resource fair, and it has gotten so the different agencies just show up to Riverwalk. We no longer have to solicit individuals to come over to provide services for the residents. One of the biggest draws that we have is a food pantry that we have through Northern Illinois Food Bank and is funded through Will County Center for Community Concerns. With the food pantry, we service over 500 households per month, which translates into over 1,000 people every month that we are providing food security for. Along with the food pantry, Joliet Junior College is there doing GED classes. We are the only GED class that has open entry and hopefully soon to have daycare on site. We have had individuals come as far as Wilmington and Braidwood to sign up for our classes because of the open entry and their GED. So we're very proud of that accomplishment. We also have Joliet Junior College has provided us 3 interns. So we have 3 paid interns from Joliet Junior College. We're also working with Kankakee Community Services through their senior work program, and we have 6 workers now that have came from Kankakee Senior Community Work Program. They work in the food pantry. We have an organic garden from Will County Land Use. We're doing case management for all 356 households. We take referrals from property management if there's an issue with any of the residents. To date, since Holston came in, we have 464 referrals, which means we have visited households 464, at least 464 different times. We work for stabilization of the households, and so we have a great focus on education and employment. We have employers that come on a regular basis and do interviewing and hiring on site. We are looking forward to November 1st. The Park District will be coming in doing an after-school program for the youth. And so we're looking forward to that after-school program coming November 1st. Everything that we do is open to the Will County, at large. So any of the programs that I've mentioned are open to anybody in Will County, not just Riverwalk residents. And I will say the pantry really has kind of opened the floodgates for that we have more and more people. And I think you're hearing less and less of Evergreen and more of Riverwalk. And so I think the whole kind of, a lot of that, it's just gone away. The stigma's gone away. And we're now Riverwalk. We are no longer Evergreen, and we take great pride in that. So, do you want to say anything, Jackie, at this point? We have, like I said, I can go through what we do with each. Partner. But basically, like I mentioned, we do assessments of every resident that comes through, every family, to see what they need as far as stabilization and any type of assistance, referrals. We do goal setting, we do referral to resources. We also, we do vouchers for furniture. We do vouchers for clothes, basically anything to stabilize the household, whether it's clothes, whether it's furniture, whether it's food, whether it's education, whether it's employment, anything that will stabilize and lead to self-sufficiency. Basically is what we do to focus, not only on Riverwalk residents, but like I said, any individual in the Will County area. We do have multiple health fairs. We have a health fair coming up, Food to the Flu. That's coming up, but we also host health fairs. We have our back to school fair, which even in the rain, we gave out over 300 some book bags. And so we're getting quite a draw. And like I said, I keep reiterating, it's more than just Riverwalk residents. We're really starting to draw in the community. And I think that Riverwalk is starting to become an anchor in the community. I mentioned before, we have GED classes. We also have one-on-one tutoring. The Joliet Park District will be starting with their after-school program. We also offer parenting classes through Parenting University. And we have volunteering opportunities. So we look for volunteers at the food pantry. So if anybody would like to come volunteer, we always look for volunteer. I know Councilwoman Gavin has been there to volunteer. Anyone that would like to volunteer, we welcome that. Also an organic garden, and with the after-school program, we do a background check if you are working in the after-school program with the children. And the internships, as I mentioned before, through Joliet Junior College and Kankakee Community Services. Are there any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll go to the development side of the presentation, which will be made by Andrea Keeney.
And Peter, yes. Good evening, council members and mayor. We wanted to go through kind of next steps for our redevelopment efforts. So starting with request for proposal for architectural services. Excuse me, I have a little bit of a cold. We had an issuance of the RFP on September 12th, which was about a month ago. We solicited 12 firms, architectural firms that all have affordable housing experience. We had a site inspection date, I believe that was last week, September 24th. 9 of the 12 firms were in attendance at that time. And there were also employees from the city of Joliet there as well. The proposal due date is on October 29th. Since we had 9 firms in attendance, we expect that there will be 9 proposals that are received. We're going to take about a month with 3 City of Joliet employees and 3 employees from Holston who will be part of the selection committee to determine which architect that we want to move forward with. And we'll go through the development timeline a little bit more on the next slide, but the reason that we're down here tonight, one of the reasons I should say that we're down here tonight, is to talk about the pre-development loan. So in talking about architects, engaging architects, obviously there's a cost associated with that. And so how do we pay for that? We source a pre-development loan as we do on all development projects. So we're talking to employees from the city of Joliet. We typically go to 2 prominent pre-development lenders, either CCLF or LISC, both, I believe, are officed in Chicago. Their interest rates on pre-development loans run in the area of 7 to 9%. So when we mentioned that interest rate to employees from the city, they all said, why would you do that? There might be potential for the city of Joliet to loan you these funds instead, make a higher interest rate than the city of Joliet typically probably makes on its money, but then also lower so the project doesn't have to support that additional interest carry. That being said, we'll come back to the pre-development loan and kind of the itemization of how we expect those funds to be spent. But we did want to go through as well a projected timeline with you all. So the first 3 key milestones we've talked about: architectural RFP issuance, the site inspection with architects, and then the pre-development loan documents, I should mention, were sent over to the city of Joliet for review. Those were sent over on the 26th of September, and we're waiting for comments on those, obviously pending council approval. So moving forward from those 3 key milestones, assuming that City Council is on board with the pre-development loan, we'd like to have that wrapped up by mid-October, and that's just an estimate at this point. We talked about the architectural RFP due date, which is due at the end of this month. And then we'll have about a month period for review and interviews with the architects that we select that we want to interview. There will be 3 architectural firms based off the RFP submissions that we will interview. Could potentially be 4, but I think likely 3 to 4. In any event, the selection of the architectural firm we're hoping will be by early December. Once that architectural firm is selected, the architect will hit the ground running. Start hosting meetings to talk about design, and then also start working on design drawings. Those design drawings are a requirement of the Illinois Housing Development Authority, who we have spoken about previously, but will be a tax credit issuer for us, so a 9% tax credit issuance, along with likely soft funds. So assuming that we're able to get an architect selected by early December, we would hope that these design drawings would be completed in August of next year. And then we would apply to IDA. They have a kind of a twofold application. The first part is doing a preliminary project assessment, which is termed a PPA up here. Once you get the green light to move forward, then you would do a full application to the Illinois Housing Development Authority. And if they keep with their current schedule, that would be happening in February of 2021. From there, it takes about 2 months or so for them to award allocations of tax credits and soft funds. We would expect to hear from them in about April of 2021. And assuming, fingers crossed, that we received the allocation of tax credits, we would anticipate project closing and construction commencement by the end of 2021. It's probably going to be a 16 to 18 month construction duration, and there's going to be relocation activities that will need to take place prior to construction commencement as well. So it's about an 18-month process, but that's going to be dependent as well on our general contractor and how quickly they can get this done. So circling back to the pre-development loan that I touched on a little bit earlier, we have a pre-development loan sized at $2 million. Now, I should mention that we don't pull this $2 million out right away. This $2 million is submitted to the City of Joliet in an owner's sworn statement, essentially, a draw. And it's done monthly. There's backup and there's invoices that are associated with whatever money that we draw down. And there would be an approval process for that as well. So a lot of these items are not going to be drawn out immediately. It's going to be staggered over time. And there would be a draw schedule that we could put together once we have our architect selected and we know the contract amount as well. So we can put that together and kind of flush through these numbers for you all a little bit. But this gives you an idea of our anticipated pre-development loan uses. We're carrying $1 million in here for a project architect. There's $10,000 for architect miscellaneous. Those are typically reimbursables. So photocopies, visuals, things of the sort that we need for applications and presentations to the public. Relocation expenses at $500,000. So as you all know, there was a settlement agreement between the City of Joliet and HUD. Relocation is required of all the residents that are living at Riverwalk Homes, those who both are temporarily relocated and those that are permanently relocated. So we need to get a handle on the families that would need to be relocated, and we'd also need to do kind of a phasing plan of, are we going to use some of the buildings that we do not intend to keep for the long term as kind of short-term relocation opportunities, things of that sort. And that's not my area of expertise, but those will be things that are flushed through with Jackie's organization, Holston Human Capital Development. Moving on, there's legal fees obviously associated with any transaction. Our partnership legal expenses are typically one of the larger line items in our budgets, but our attorneys try to hold off on getting paid until the project closes. So this is only a portion of their payment. And then legal fees related to zoning if there needs to be a zoning change for any reason or any zoning activities on site. ComEd fees should be more of general utilities. There's engineering costs that go into any redevelopment efforts. ComEd charges us for that. So that's an anticipated fee. Appraisal, market study, and survey, I think those are pretty self-explanatory. Environmental reports and borings. So since there are 3 buildings that are going to be retained along with the community center, we're going to have to do environmental reports, not only of the soil for any potential contaminants, but also of the buildings themselves to check for lead and asbestos, and that will be a requirement of all our lenders. The tax credit reservation fee that you see here of $175,000, that is an IDA fee. City of Chicago has the same reservation fee. It is 10% of the allocation of tax credits. So we are anticipating a $1.75 million allocation, which is the maximum allocation that IDA gives to any one project. Application fees, there are fees that are required from all of our lenders, including public lenders. So IDA charges us a $7,500 fee for any application that goes into it. So that's another line item here. And then the pre-development loan interest and fees at $120,000. Again, that will be dependent on how quickly we draw the funds down, how long the funds are outstanding, et cetera. But this gives you a kind of a general idea of what we're looking at. That being said, we wanted to end with the original site plan just to kind of as a reference point in case anyone has any specific questions, and we can refer back to this. But we are all available for any questions you might have, Peter and I and the rest of our team. Thank you.
Any questions? No.
You know,
Yes.
not a question so much as a comment for you.
Sure.
I kind of sort of interact with Riverwalk and the programming side, and I just want to say this, that there is a remarkable improvement in the attitudes, the living conditions, the program services for our residents that are there. I talk with them all the time, and I love the food pantry. Right on, spot on. That is nice. And if you haven't visited, please go visit the food pantry. And so I just want to say great job. I know we got a long way to go, but the impact is there, and we can see it. We can see it, we can feel it. And so thank you so much for that. Ms. Jackie, thank you. And Ms. Liz, you guys do an amazing job. Andrea and everybody. You guys are doing a great job over there, and we can tell. We can see it. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Next under Mayor are Mayor Odekirk appointments.
None.
None this evening. Approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as written?
So moved.
Second?
Been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Dickinson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilman Morris?
Aye.
Councilman Mudron?
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Turk?
Aye.
Motion carried. Citizens to be heard on agenda items. Is there anyone present that would like to speak on an agenda item this evening?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council. Couple items. Do the first one, the easiest one. 52819 cannabis tax. Couple comments. Taxing bodies, Will County, City of Joliet, whatever, you got state of Illinois. Got to be careful you don't tax it out of business before it even starts, because of the fact is some of the goal is to obviously decriminalize it, empty out our jails a little bit, but the big thing is to get rid of the street dealers. And remind you of Colorado when they interviewed the new law out that way. They interviewed the street dealers, obviously disguised in the program, and he said we're not out of business. We're not out of business because we don't tax our pot. So that kind of stuck with me. That kind of made sense, because why would you want to pay the additional money if you're getting the same quality on the street? So I caution the city not to get too aggressive on tax and not so much medical marijuana, but the cannabis tax that you're proposing. The other item, It's cleanup language on 529-19. That's the parking, update parking enforcement ordinances. And Chris, I know you do an update on all the different ordinances and so on, and it might be an oversight or I just might have missed something, but in that proposal, in that memo, you're taking out and deleting inoperable / abandoned vehicles. That section talks about $500 plus towing and storage. I kind of went through the rest of that ordinance. I didn't see it. It may be there in another section or something, but that is one of the bigger problems in Joliet. Our cars get ticketed, they get the orange sticker on it, it changes to a pink color, changes to a white color, and it sits there for 4 or 5 months. Well, maybe not that long, 3 or 4 months. But it's a real problem. All of you have been called on that issue. And so I want to make sure that language is in the parking ordinance somewhere that continues to exist, because that is a major problem in the city of Joliet. And last is the 526-19, the water rate increase. The last 3 years with 21% increase, 7% each year, quite a hefty increase. And not too long ago, City Council had people in here talking about the 1% proposal for gasoline tax, just a suggested idea to make money for replacing the fleet. And a lot of people up in arms, a couple council people up in arms. Mr. Mayor, you were up in arms at the 1%. But yet, nobody is talking about the 21% of the past 3 years, or proposed 18+% for water rate increases for the next 3 years. Kind of surprised there's nobody here to talk about that. Far less expensive with your 1-cent gasoline tax. Just like keep throwing that out there. But the point being is, I think it's too early to go out 3 years for the gasoline gasoline tax, for the water rate increase until the water study is done. It's going to be done a couple more months. And one report said it's possibly 40% increase for the water rates. Well, it's so hard to tell because this is a new project. Nobody knows what's going on in real costs. So let's just double that to 80%. Do I want to see my water bill go up 80% in addition to 18% for the next 3 years? Not really. So I asked the City Council tonight to look at this and possibly postpone this increase for the next 3 years until after the water study. See what type of cost is going to get generated for replacement of water lines. Then come back and look at this after that. And if there's a real need, because you do your planning, should be doing your planning a year in advance, that you really need that 6.1% increase for 19, starting in November and carry over to next year's projects, then maybe just vote in the 1-year increase at this point in time and hold off in the other 2 years till all the facts are in on the new water rates. That's just a suggestion on my part. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. I'm Garland Mays from 1317 Fairview. I'm the Forest Park president of the neighborhood council up there. Tonight, the governor released a map of the area. I'll be talking on memo 528-19. Tonight, the governor released a map of all the areas that was most affected by the marijuana epidemic or things. Most areas that people were affected were Forest Park. If you look at the map, and when you get time to look at the map, it shows it highlighted Forest Park area, south side, east side, so forth and so on. And as we go into this legalization of marijuana, what I'm asking is this council is to look at those, when you look at the tax and the money, they said the city might bring $1.52 million in per year, whatever the dollars is, that some of those dollars be allocated back into those communities that which it was affected, such as with the community centers. I think that money from Forest Park Center to Collins Street Center and all the other ones, that they can use that dollars. Now, I'm not saying the whole entire whatever brought in, but I'm saying a percentage. And I'm not saying 2%, 3%, I'm saying a fair percentage, because that has affected our community more than any other community. Now, I understand those dollars will be spent elsewhere and, nice sidewalks, probably whatever the case may be, but I would like to see those dollars affecting the communities where marijuana affected our residents the most. And so as we move into this, I ask this council, mayor, city manager to come up with a comprehensive plan to whereas we can look at health and social services and all other programs that will directly affect the residents that lived in this community and in these areas. Even scholarships. I think that we with a plan together, this can be done. So I thank you for your time, and I will be reaching out and asking again, pleading for this, that those dollars, a nice percentage of those dollars, come back into our communities that which marijuana affected our residents. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on an agenda item? Seeing none. Council committee reports. First is the Public Safety Committee report.
Okay, the Public Safety Committee met today in the executive conference room at 5:30. In attendance was Councilman Hogg, Councilman Dickinson, Formhalls, Chief Formhalls, Mark Batis, and I didn't write everybody's name down, so I apologize. But they know who it was. Anyways, a very good meeting. It was short and sweet. Oh yes, the manager was there too. We discussed the SOS vests for the Joliet Police Department. They're updated for the SWAT team and are a third of the weight that the current ones are. There's $15,000 in the budget for them, and the rest will be coming from state aid. And it'll be a quick exit vest. And what that means is if someone is shot on the side or in the neck or something, they can get these off really quick. It's quick release, so they can get them to the hospital in a timely fashion and tend to the wound immediately. And they're level 4 protection, and the whole cost will be $56,551. Okay, moving on to the generator purchase for Station 1. It's an emergency backup generator, and there's a grant for $7,500, and they're going to amend the capital fund for the other $47,000 to purchase the backup generator for Fire Station 1. That was unanimous vote as well. Moving down to the billing, authorization to approve ambulance billing contract with Andreas. They went out for bid. They wanted to see what any changes out there, but in overall, Andreas could offer them more and bigger bang for their buck, even though they were the most expensive, the highest bid. We've been dealing with them for 10 years. There was 9 responses, but they've been doing a fabulous job, so they're going to do a 3-year contract with them, and we voted to approve that as well. Then there was discussion for some fire gear. The chief was looking out for an RFP to purchase some fire gear. And we brought up again about the discussion for body cams for the Joliet Police Department. And it's an ongoing research, and since we met a few weeks ago, things have changed. And the body cam, the technology keeps changing daily, so there'll be a new presentation given to the guys that are researching this around the middle of the month, so that we can get the best of the best when it comes down to protecting our citizens and our police officers as well. And did I miss anything?
No.
Done?
No, that was it.
No? Okay. That was it. Thank you.
Public Service Committee report.
The Public Service Committee met yesterday here at City Hall in the executive conference room, to my right. In attendance were committee members, Councilwoman Gavin, Councilman Morris, myself, and several staff members from the Water and Sewer Department and the Public Works Department. Under the consent agenda, we'll review 2 requests for stop signs at intersections, one being the intersection of Rosemont Drive and Westport Drive, and the second one being Expedition Street and Allegheny Street. And staff presented their recommendation based on the data they collected. And the MUTC. Help me out again. What's MUTC stand for again, Jim?
It's MUTCD, and it's Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices.
Somebody's got to remember that for me. I call it MUTC. They presented their recommendations, and we unanimously recommended both of their recommendations to be approved here by the rest of the council. Under contracts, we have several contracts. 2 of them had to do with the new water meters that are going to be needed for our new customers, if you will, in Fairmont. And those will be paid for by CDBG money, Community Development Block Grant money from the county. So we, again, unanimously approved the awarding of those contracts. Then we had a contract for demolition of the property at 715 and 721 East Washington abandoned buildings. That was a no-brainer to go ahead and approve the demolition, anything to, to help make the city look better. Then we had a couple of standard change order payments and final payments on water and sewer as well as street repairs that we reviewed and found to be in order. And the final item was an ordinance allowing for the money to pay for the change order on the 8th Street over Spring Creek improvement project, which is a bridge. And we're fixing the bridges where we can, and that's important. Every municipality, every state, and the nation, federal government has to fix their bridges, so we're doing our best. Other than that, all items as presented to the council were voted on unanimously for recommendation to the council to approve. Councilwoman, Councilman, did I miss anything?
No, sir.
I think you covered it all.
And I remembered to mention you ahead of the report this time. Okay, that's my report, Mayor.
Thank you.
I show no other reports. Under consent agenda, approval of the minutes, it's recommended the minutes of the pre-council meeting held on September 16th and the minutes of the council meeting held on September 17th, 2019 stand approved as recorded. Council Memo 519-19, position vacancies. It's recommended the city manager be authorized to fill one police patrol officer position and any subsequent vacancies which may occur. Council Memo 520-19, request for authorization to standardize sole source public safety hardware and services. It's recommended this item be approved. Is there a motion to approve said consent agenda items?
So moved.
Second?
Been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Motion carried. Under licenses and permit applications, Council Memo 522-19, transfer of a Class C liquor license. Liquortown, 1005 Essington Road. It's recommended Liquortown be issued a Class C liquor license.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 523-19, transfer of a Class C liquor license, Black Road Food and Liquor, located at 2787 Black Road. It's recommended Black Road Food and Liquor be issued a Class C liquor license.
So moved.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Motion carried. There are no public hearings this evening, so moving under ordinances. Council Memo 525-19, and ordinances amending Section 4-76 and 4-81, raising the age for lawful possession of tobacco from 18 to 21. It's recommended said ordinances be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 526-19, an ordinance amending Chapter 31 of the Code of Ordinances in regards to water and sewer rates, 2019. It's recommended said ordinance be adopted.
Mayor,
Yes.
ask a question.
Yes.
Allison, yesterday I had asked a question, what would be the downside of waiting until we had the figures, cost figures on the water source before we set them? So if you could give that answer again, and then also, is there a downside to doing a 1 year and then taking a look at it? Is that a possible,
So
compromise?
the rate study had already incorporated funding of the water study, regardless of what source is selected. So we've incorporated all of the other necessary funding into the rate study that's not related to the water source. And so that was, with those two alternatives we presented, not putting aside additional funding was about 1% less. So, those were the two alternatives presented. We feel that delaying approval of those rates will just further result in greater increases down the road by delaying that.
As far as doing it on a one-year basis for 3 years, what's the downside on that, if there is one?
Again, the downside would be having to come back and, reevaluate the study. We are already confident in the debt service that we do have that is already identified, that it would not change the results of the study.
Any other questions?
There is no motion on the table as of now.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve Council Memo 526-19, ordinance amending Chapter 31 of the Code of Ordinances in regards to water and sewer rates 2019. Councilwoman Quillman.
That's a necessary evil. I'll vote aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Excuse me, before I vote, let's be clear, there's going to be a large increase. Without an accurate estimate, we know it's going to be hundreds of millions of dollars. Kankakee, Illinois River, Lake Michigan. It's going to happen whether the 9 of us up here are not. It's going to happen no matter who the city manager is, who the director of utilities, of water and sewer is. It's going to happen because we don't have a choice, because we can't run out of water. I've got friends both in Minooka and Morris. I was just in Morris over the weekend, that complain about their water rates, and they're the second and third lowest in the Will Grundy area. Nobody likes to see it go up, including me and my wife. However, I've said from the beginning I wanted to do it all at once and wait till we got more accurate numbers in the final analysis that we're a couple of months away. So again, so it doesn't look like pandering or grandstanding, I'm going to vote for an increase at some point. I just want more information on the total package, the hundreds of millions we're going to spend, and let's do it all at once so people understand. So I would vote no.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Motion carried 7-1. Council Memo 527-19, an ordinance amending the 2019 annual budget for the City of Joliet and purchase a generator for Fire Station Number 1. It's recommended said ordinance be adopted.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson. Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 528-19, an ordinance adding Chapter 28 Taxation, Article 20 Municipal Cannabis Retailers Occupation Tax, imposing a cannabis retailer's occupation tax. It's recommended said ordinance be adopted.
Mayor,
Yes.
in response to the questions I had yesterday about the police department, the chief sent us all an email earlier, and he would like to comment on that.
Sure.
Council, yeah, there were several questions last night, and also today we received several phone calls from different council people to my command staff asking us our feelings on this issue. As a police department, we were against the recreational cannabis back when, before it even was voted on, through the state to happen. We partnered with Illinois Association of Chiefs of Police to voice our opinion against the bill. Now that it's passed, we understand that the business side of it, of course, is important, but I just felt with some of the questions about the crime related to it that there was a memo done by Chief Maton from Lamont, who was instrumental with the Illinois Chiefs of Police in lobbying against the recreational cannabis beginning. He did a memo to his council explaining a lot of questions you may have, and I wanted to make sure I got that to the members today because of the questions I got. The numbers out there from Colorado, just some of the numbers, and Colorado Hospital Association, Department of Health reported that the hospitalization related to cannabis had almost doubled from 6,700 in 2012 to more than 11,400 in 2014 for cannabis-related issues. They also said we should anticipate a spike in hospital visits due to the intoxication, undesirable side effects, and overdosing because you're going to have a lot more people trying these products that aren't used to them. We don't know what's being infused, the amounts of THC being infused, so you can expect some overdoses related to that. Colorado emergency rooms, they've also seen an increase, like I said, over the past several years. In Colorado, this is a big one, the number of marijuana fatalities went from 14% in 2013, so it was 71 fatalities related to cannabis, up to over 24%, which is 147 in 2016. Just something to think about and to look at is related to that. I know people need to be responsible, and that's a big part of it, but those are pretty staggering numbers when you think about it. Crime also increased by 10% in Colorado since the recreational cannabis was approved there, with the violent crime increasing by 18%. So just some things to think about, some answers to get. As a police department, whatever you decide, we're behind you. We'll do what we need as far as the laws go in relation to it. But those are some of our concerns. A lot of other concerns at these recreational locations would be security concerns that we do have. So we'd have to play a big part in that part of it also. So thank you.
Good question.
Yes.
What about the other question that I asked about the training and the
Yeah,
testing for
it is in the report. It's expensive. Like was stated, the equipment now to test it is in infancy stages, and there's some issues with it, but the training for it is expensive. We'd have to send all of our officers through it. So there is a cost to that. I don't know the exact numbers, but we would have to research and get to you on that when the time comes.
Thank you.
There is no motion on the table at this time.
Yes, Mike?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, if I could just address two matters very quickly, and that is, number one, the report that Chief Rochner sent out here late this afternoon does have a conclusion and recommendation that the allowance of permitted licensing for retail location for cannabis sales or infused product sales should have minimal impact on crime occurrence or demand on police resources, providing on-premises consumption is not permitted at the site. So that is the overall conclusion of the Lamont report. And I'll just remind the members of the council that this is the ordinance tonight. The proposal is the fee ordinance only, that the council is going to be asked in the next month to regulate the time, effect, and manner under the state statute as far as the rest of it is concerned. And certainly the staff is going to work with the police in addressing any of these concerns that are contained in the Lamont report. So just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Yes.
Mike? So you're saying that tonight if we created the proper tax for it, that we would have another shot to say yes or no at a future meeting?
That's certainly my understanding, and I'll give that question to Mr. Jones.
Yes, correct. Last night we talked about the second phase of this, if the council did approve it. And that second phase is literally have public hearings before the Plan Commission to develop a sense of where recreational cannabis would be allowed to be sold. So any number of restrictions, whether it be spacing, whether it be zoning districts, or other things that would go into the land use code, that'll be up for both Plan Commission recommendation as well as City Council authority.
So just so I'm clear, Mayor, because we went through this again last night. So if we approve this tax and later on after all the hearings, we decide not to do it, it's a no-go? Even though the tax is in place, it's like it's putting the cart before the horse.
I mean, the city council certainly could say that, it's not eligible in any zoning district. I mean, right now we have medical marijuana that's within certain areas via special use.
So even if we're to pass the tax later on and we decided the public didn't like it, we didn't like it, we could vote it down then, right?
You could, right. Yes, the answer is yes.
Mayor?
But we gotta get it clear.
Yes.
Well, and I think I might finish Steve Jones' thought there. But you'd look awful ridiculous doing that. And the concept of having the vote tonight is to send a message to business that we are going to allow it. That was quotes from last night's meeting, so I don't want to have mixed signals.
Confusing.
Okay.
Just wanted to clarify.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve Council Memo 528-19, an ordinance adding Chapter 28, Taxation, Article 20, Municipal Cannabis Retailers Occupation Tax. Councilman Turk?
You know, I've had a lot of questions on this, and I've talked to some professionals, I talked to some people in the medical field, and I still have some questions, so I intend to research that over the next, whatever time it takes to go before the Plan Commission and back to the full council, but I will vote to tax it if it becomes available. I will vote aye.
Councilman Dickinson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
I'll be brief and hopefully clear. The state in May saw fit to award the choice to adults to partake of the marijuana plant. That choice is not up for vote today. What we're voting on now, that they have a choice to buy and pay the taxes, but they have no real avenue, no real lane, no real choice to be in. The average person in Illinois, the average middle-class person, the average college graduate, the average low-income person that might see an opportunity on ground floor of a newly created industry, they have zero chance of getting into it, no matter what it says in print. I can put you to the front of the line, but if I charge you $1 million to get into the movie, you're not going to go in. So I'm not satisfied that it's creating a real choice for opportunity for every citizen, and for anything less than 95% of the citizens won't have any opportunity, if not a greater number than that. So mine's, I guess, a little more different, a little more complicated opposition than those that have other different varying views. But I would vote no.
Councilman Morris?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
No.
Councilwoman Coleman?
No.
Councilwoman Reardon?
No.
The vote was 4 ayes and 5 noes. Motion failed.
4 to 4.
4 to 4. Oh, I'm sorry, I added Corinne correctly. Mayor Odekirk?
Aye.
Okay, I apologize for that. So the vote is 5-4, motion carried. Council Memo 529-19, an ordinance amending Section 1-8, Section 3-4, and Sections 19-141, 176, 180, 182, 194, and 207 of the Code of Ordinances, amending and updating parking and enforcement ordinances. It's recommended said ordinances be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Dickinson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Well, since this ordinance allows the equal opportunity for someone to park in the same spots, I'll vote aye.
Councilman Morris?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Turk?
Chris, the reference that Mr. Sheridan made to abandoned vehicles and things like that, is that in here?
It is. What he was pointing out, and I appreciate him catching that, was that there is an amendment to the table in 1-8. There's a table that says what all the fines are for the various violations. The abandoned vehicle fine was in there twice. It was a typo. It might have been a holdover from an old table. It was in there at 2 different amounts. The amount listed on the proposed ordinance in your package would be deleted. It is still in there with a different fee, so it's not going anywhere.
Vote aye.
Motion carried. Under resolutions, Council Memo 531-19, a resolution approving a property tax abatement agreement with Harbor Freight Tools, Texas, Centerpoint Intermodal Center. It's recommended this item be tabled to the October 15th council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded to table Council Memo 531-19 to the October 15th council meeting. Councilwoman Gavin?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilman Morris?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Turk?
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson?
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 532-19, a resolution authorizing release of executive session minutes. It's recommended said resolution be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 533-19, a resolution appropriating funds for the Phase 1 engineering services for the Abe Street over Spring Creek Improvement Project. It's recommended said resolution be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Council Memo 534-19, a resolution authorizing execution of an ambulance billing agreement with Andres Medical Billing. It's recommended said resolution be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 535-19, a resolution accepting a $200,000 1.89% interest rate loan from the Illinois Finance Authority for the purchase of a new ambulance, authorizing the execution of the loan agreement between the City of Joliet, Illinois, and the Illinois Finance Authority, and authorizing all necessary actions related thereto. It's recommended said resolution be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
1.89%. That's a good rate. That's free money. Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Motion carried. Under bids and contracts, award of contracts, Council Memo 537-19, purchase water metering equipment for the Fairmont Water Replacement Project. Council Memo 538-19, award a contract for the 2019-2020 Large Meter Replacement Program. And Council Memo 539-19, award a contract for the demolition of 715 and 721 East Washington Street. It's recommended Council Memos 537-19 through 539-19 be approved.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Motion carried. Under amendments, change orders, and payments, Council Memo 541-19, approve change order number 7 for the Aux Sable and West Side wastewater treatment plants phosphorus removal and expansion project. And Council Memo 542-19, approve amendment number 1 for the Phase 1 engineering services for the Abe Street over Spring Creek Improvement Project. It's recommended Council Memos 541-19 and 542-19 be approved.
So moved.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next is the city manager's report.
Thank you. One item for tonight. Let's say about 2 months ago or so, I told you that the city had nominated the Joliet Prison Coalition for consideration for a Governor Hometown Award. This is an annual award that literally happens on a statewide basis, and it identifies very worthy, deserving efforts with volunteers. We nominated the prison for the 2008 effort to basically go from the abandoned jungle that it once was into something that was accessible by the public and being enjoyed by tourists. So we sent in a nomination. We had a 3-member group from the museum go down and make the presentation. and we won our category. Under economic opportunities, we did win a Governor Hometown Award. I'll get you more information on it, the press release and some of the notification to the communities who have won is forthcoming. But they did send us the email late last week and said we could mention it, so it's not a secret. There will be a ceremony downstate, and this is the award where you get the big road sign, and you better believe there's going to be a road sign right in front of the prison on Collins Street. So we'll certainly find out how many signs we could order, make sure all of our major entryways into the city have a little bit of advertising for the prison. But I mean, I don't think there's anyone at the table here who wasn't part of that effort in terms of some of the volunteer work out there. Clearly the trades, employees, community groups, the folks that are out there every Saturday who are just part of this effort, the passion they bring forward. And it was very appropriate. We just had the report come and shows that we've had over 14,000 visitors within the last 2 years between the musical events out there and the tours. And none of that would have happened without this volunteer effort. We all know this. So we'll certainly provide a little bit more information, make sure the media knows about it. But hopefully by the end of the year, you'll see that road sign out there. And that's the end of my report.
Well, Steve, that was good news. But I wish the Herald News photographer would have got a picture of Councilman Huck's face.
You know what? If you guys are going to call up, Steve, did that come with a $1.5 million check to pay it back? Or is that a $75 plaque that we're going to put on the wall?
It's a big old road sign, and my guess is we probably get one road sign and we have to pay for the rest.
How much money did they send us? What we took off their hands? How much money did they send us? Nothing?
Nothing.
All right.
We got the 250,000 from the tourism folks. So.
Yeah, right.
Well, that's 1% of what you're going to need, and you know it. We're looking at $12 million.
Thank you.
It's always
I'm always ready to punch back, man.
New business not for final action or recommendation.
Betty?
I have nothing.
I did start it.
Yeah, you
I have nothing.
Jan?
No.
All right, I got a couple things. Number one, I met with Councilman Turk right before the meeting. I really plan on speaking strongly tonight, not so much about what happened yesterday because of the pending investigations, but it's an overall overview of what I see going on in our city. I'm going to dial those comments back tonight, and quite frankly, I think, and I'm responsible for this to some degree, but the public arguing that's going on isn't helping. The people who agree with me, the people who don't agree with me don't agree, and we're not getting anywhere, including on the council. So I asked Councilman Turk, I know you've been here for 30-something years. Since in my opinion, since May, when this council voted to fire Marty Shanahan or remove him from the city manager, there has been a deep division on this council. It's called the Mudron Five. I know the Five reject that or don't like that idea, that name.
That's right.
And I've struggled as mayor trying to find a way to overcome it. I think to some degree maybe we all have. So Mike, I guess I asked you if you had any ideas. You've been here probably through worse times than this. Would you like to share with me what we talked about?
Well, first of all, this is my opinion. The Mudron Five exists on one topic, and that's the selection of a city manager. I think if we look at the votes ever since that time in the spring, the votes are like they were tonight. They're all over the board. And there's no coalition of anybody. But I remember some years ago we had a council retreat, and it was just the council, the city manager, and the attorney to make sure we didn't talk about any matters of voting for whatever on the city, and we just talked out personalities and talked out issues and how to mend some fences and how to try to be cohesive and come out somewhat unified. And I thought maybe that would be a possibility of trying that again. I don't know if that was before you were on, Jan, or after. I think we met out at the Wingate Hotel. They had a conference room.
Oh, I remember that now.
away from City Hall on a neutral ground, and you asked me for a suggestion. That's what first came to my head. I'll think of some more, but so I just threw it out there.
I think something to kick around with. It certainly can't hurt.
I think it's a good idea, man.
Well, thanks. And, Steve, again, I don't know if you have any experience. You've been a city manager for a long time.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about some of those towns, but no.
It couldn't be any worse.
You know, Councilman Turk talked about sort of the big picture, and I guess I'll talk a little bit about, today, real time. Having come from my little bubble world of economic development back in the corner of the building, there was certainly, rumblings whenever there was something going on within the city manager's office or some other portion of the building. But, clearly with economic development, we were pretty focused on what we were doing and didn't get involved in too much of that. Well, now I'm the interim city manager, and I think, the 6 to 8 months of perhaps tension building, and I'll say between City Hall and the police department, sort of has been a little bit on my watch, but, a lot of, kind of the hidden iceberg type things going on. Well, clearly this week, things got very public, things got very serious. What I would suggest, we have very honorable people who were involved in some of the controversies that, reading about in the newspaper, hearing about on the radio. I think to a certain degree with some of the things that have come up, perhaps we need some outside eyes. Perhaps we need to bring someone in here that is going to kind of look at what's been alleged. Perhaps they'll talk about how we could operate better from a communication standpoint so these things don't happen again. Perhaps we could find out what are some things that we do organizationally that will prevent this from happening again and make us better. I look at this as it affects the police department. It obviously affects everyone up here. More importantly, it affects the community. People are wondering, I've heard from a number of people, like, what's going on at City Hall? And I think it reduces the faith the public has to a certain degree in what we do in this room, what happens within our departments, and it affects all of us. It has literally sucked the oxygen out of the room. I've used that description over the last 2 weeks. And there's some of us who've done very little other than kind of dealing with some of the issues that we're talking about. There are better things we should be doing. There's a budget coming up. We've got development issues. I think perhaps getting outside eyes to take this, look at it in a real objective fashion, come forward with some solutions. It'll help remove some of the politics, I think, that it's too easy to throw things into the political end. We have, honorable members of our police department who, feel perhaps that, they're being treated unfairly or not given their due. Let's just have somebody look at this and see from outside what are solutions, what are problems that can be identified, and move towards fixing things as opposed to pointing fingers. So, with all that said, you're going to ask me, oh, okay, well, what are your specific plans? I don't know. This week, the whole concept of where we should go to get out of this became a little bit more focused, and I think we could work on some ideas and work on something that perhaps can bring someone in, either firm or individual. But I think Councilman Turk's idea and the discussion that you two had about some strategic planning or team building, whatever you want, I think that would be useful, because months and months and months ago, and if it was an executive session or here, if it was executive session, I apologize for violating confidentiality, but I said, even with the differences of this council, 80% of everything that happens, you folks are in sync on. And I just think that there's so much common ground here that even though this sometimes looks like it's a tough situation, I think it's communication and so looking forward, I think, helps solve some of these issues. So that's a long, rambling answer to your question, Mayor.
Well, I think it's something we should consider and look into. I think both ideas are good ideas. Yeah, and I'm going to hold back tonight, but I've seen things in the last year that I never would have dreamt when I was a police officer would happen. And I'll give you one, Chief, because I remember you complained to me. Right after you took over as the interim chief, you sent a memo regarding personnel decision you made to the lieutenants and the captains. And within 24 hours, that memo was in the hands of a Herald News reporter. And to me, it's unfathomable when I worked there that a lieutenant or a captain, upper level management would have done that supposedly to undermine you or to try to embarrass the employee. But unfortunately, that's not the worst thing that I've seen. So I'll leave it at that, but I think it's I think both are good ideas and we should explore them moving forward.
Mayor?
Yes.
I always like to remind people, Mike, you're thinking outside the box there. And I think each one of our needs to move forward, some need more than others to move forward. So let's find something that's common for all 9 of us. So I want to remind you that John Grueling was just here within the last couple of weeks. He was referring to last year, but you can extend this over 4 years. He essentially described Joliet on development, which kept our taxes from being raised in any direction, of being the envy of not only the county, but possibly the state. That the only place that brought in more development, more jobs from developments, I believe he said, was Chicago, right? Remember he said that?
Yes.
Okay.
And not percentage total.
That's what I want to get back to and not be distracted. So I'm open to any suggestion that's going to bring us back to that path, because we did as a city. And it wasn't just us up here, it was the community that was really on board. We've got huge decisions we have to make, and we're making, like with the water. That's not an option, that's a necessity. We got to focus. So whatever it takes to get past the bump, I'm on board as well.
Yeah, yes.
Just a quick comment, and I think that this is where we need to be. We are more alike than we are different, and we all have the same respect for our residents and our staff and everybody else in the community. But I like the idea of getting together in a retreat and probably having someone, as Steve mentioned, to come in and moderate that. Let's do a SWOT. We've done that, and all of us have done that. What are our strengths, what are the weaknesses? Let's try and put something together that we move forward. Because we have a lot on our plate to get done in this city. There are a lot of things that are out there that we must stay focused on, and we cannot let a rift, tear us apart. So, idea that I got the perfect place for the retreat.
Forest Park?
Yeah. No, it's got to be secluded. You got no telephones, no Wi-Fi, no nothing. We get down, kick our shoes off, and get to business.
We'll be the visitors.
We have our own style.
And finally, myself and Allison Swisher and Steve Jones went up to City of Chicago today. We met with Mayor Lightfoot and her staff. I think it was a very productive meeting. The city is going to be at the Environmental Committee meeting next Tuesday. Is that 5 o'clock, Allison? 4:30 next Tuesday. Again, to reiterate, this wasn't unusual. We did the same thing with the city of Hammond, and we're going to continue to reach out to different entities. But I think because there was some controversy when the city of Chicago first came forward, I think it's important that they're going to come forward to a public meeting, and I would encourage the council or citizens who are interested to come and attend that meeting. And that's all I have for new business. Yes.
Next is public comments. Is there anyone that would like to speak on our public comments?
Sorry, guys, I'm a little short. Mayor, City Council, all you guys sitting up there, and Police Chief Roachner. Last night's events unveiled here in our city a lot of things. Sitting as the Will County Republican Chair, I got hundreds of phone calls, and I'm highly disappointed with the way that the actions were taken. I'm also highly disappointed with the lack of transparency from our Police Chief, causing issues among the city. I've got multiple phone calls, Facebook reports, something that hit the Herald News with no name, no description, and an outdated statement, Chief Roachner. And we'd like, as a city and as citizens, to see the facts. We'd like to see the actual test that was provided. We'd like that to be published, since we can publish things in the local Herald News and use that for political propaganda when we have bodies lying on the ground and people dying. The things not being covered that make sense in the city. Every one of you on this board, outside of the mayor who did publicly state that he was really concerned about what was going on, has yet to stand up and say anything about my friends that have died. Family members of people in this community that have died in this last week. Instead, me being a political person myself, watch you guys use politics. Well, we've got blood on the ground and family members dying. This is disappointing to the community, disappointing to us all as a whole, and we'd like some results and answers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madi Perez from St. Pat's area.
I'd like to address a few things. As many of you know, my son, 16-year-old, was attending the Mexican Independence Parade on Collins Street. He was shot in his leg. My son is not a gang member. I've cooperated fully with the police department. Ever since the town hall meeting when I spoke publicly, I've gotten a lot of support. I want to thank publicly Chief Rochner, Lieutenant Igizio, Deputy Gavin. They've been phenomenal. They've been supportive. I can honestly say in the last 2.5 years since the nightmare began with my family being harassed by police, not wanting to actually make an arrest, criminals coming to the front door, injuring my elderly mother at my front door of my home, and refusing to arrest them. I can honestly say for the first time in 2.5 years, I actually feel safe at my home. With that said, I agree with the gentleman that just spoke. I'm embarrassed. Mayor Odekirk, with all respect, I feel you're very toxic at things. And I think that there's, agencies, I've worked in human resource management for 20 years. There are agencies that can come in, an outsider, and as you stated, can give you some, tips on how to communicate and direct. But I think you are leading this town, and it is embarrassing. We have children getting shot. My child was shot and could have been killed. My son is suffering mental health illness. He's now 23. This started when he was 19 because of smoking marijuana that somebody laced. So as a parent of 6 biologically, 3 that I'm raising for my sister, it hits home for me when you're legalizing marijuana, when you're putting it out on the streets. As Mays said, it affects our communities more. There's an increase in gang violence. And as the chief shared, marijuana does affect people, and not always the same. It doesn't always show you out. It makes some people, it's an upper, some it's a downer. We have enough violence in our community. And I understand you are all about, what money can be brought into our town, but let's also think about the bodies and children that are being laid to rest early. They shouldn't be dying like this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Mr. Mayor, City Council. I'm not going to go over point by point the latest hullabaloo going on at City Hall. I will let the lawyers sort it out. But I will say it's getting out of control with this vindictive, getting even crap. My humble opinion, all this, excuse me, is because Marty wasn't selected as city manager. What a bunch of crap. Taxpayers are getting tired of the infighting at City Hall. I suggest we need an outside source to do an investigation because I don't believe that our Inspector General can investigate this matter without being prejudiced. I base the statements on the fact that it's my understanding Kendall County State's Attorney has subpoenaed executive session tapes concerning Brian Nagra. It's alleged that you, Mr. Mayor, and Chris Regis made a statement in closed session that a deal was cut to ensure Brian gets a seniority date and will pay back money. Final outcome, he got both with additional $100K plus of salary. In addition, it's my understanding Mr. Regis attended or represented you during the current investigation, so definitely it's a conflict of interest. But basically putting a fox in charge of the hen house. I suggest the Illinois Attorney General's office come to Joliet and investigate this matter. It's going to take someone from the outside to do an investigation without being prejudiced. His office is currently investigating the ballpark contract and 2 cases of involved alleged violations of the Open Meeting Act that I'm personally aware of. To Chief Rochner, I thank you, sir, for doing what is right and not giving in to these intimidation tactics from the town bullies. I support you 100% until proven otherwise. And the same to the 5 council persons who have said they've had enough. I thank you. In summary, the defamation of character to a 29-year police officer is serious. In the event that these latest allegations turn out to be true and due process was followed, I would suggest that those involved step down from their current position. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak in our public comments? Next is mayor and council comments.
Done.
Yeah, I just want to remind everybody that the month of October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Guys wear pink to support the women, and ladies, make sure you get checked.
Men too.
Catch it early. Thank you.
I have nothing.
I just want to take a moment on the comments earlier with the award that the city got, the plaque, $17 plaque. I have the Councilman Hug Award. I'm awarding the state of Illinois this award, and let me read it. The award that you were able to fool a bunch of people into trading $12 million in liability for a $17 plaque. Let's hear it for my award. Thanks.
I have none. I just like to say I agree with Mike that we could get together, but I think we need to go a little further than the Wingate Hotel, maybe to Hawaii.
Oh, yeah, Terry, you're right.
You know, Larry likes to leave out the meetings. That way you be on the island, you can't leave us.
He's my roommate.
Okay, I have no problem with that. That's all I have, Jan.
Thank you.
Yes, well, timing is everything with their retreat, because we've been trying for months to get together, so it's about time.
It's great.
On a lighter note, we missed this during the week of August 18th to 24th. Detective James Hargrove attended the National Black Officer Police Association training conference in Pennsylvania. And the association got national recognition by receiving the Willie Smoot Organizational Meritorious Award from the National Black Police Officer Association. So congratulations to Detective Hargrove.
Yes.
Jerry?
I just want to say I received an email after the horrific incident that occurred where there was a murder-suicide that happened to be in my district. And I received an email from the next door neighbor of that household, and he in some way works in the city of Chicago in the emergency management response system. And he wanted me to say, give some, accolades to our responders, our SWAT team, at what a great job they did on that day. He made the entire area feel so much safer. He said that he was listening to some of the responses and the radio, however they're talking on the radio, and just said that you could tell how well run, how well trained they are, and he couldn't say enough about our guys and what they did. And so I want to tell them, thank you so much for what you do every day for this city.
Yeah, I made all my comments earlier. Thank you.
There a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion seconded to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Is that mine?
That's yours, man.